And we are live. Welcome, mystery and thriller fans. I'm your on-air host and author, Sara DiVello, and I am so excited to welcome to the show Robyn Gigl, here to give us the inside scoop on her brand new book, Nothing But the Truth. Robyn, welcome to Mystery and Thriller Mavens. Tell us about this book.
Hi, Sara. It is so nice to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me to be on the show. I'm so honored to be here. So, Nothing But the Truth is the fourth book in the Erin McCabe series. But for all of you out there who haven't read books 1, 2, or 3, don't worry. It's written as a standalone. And so you can pick up book 4 and start in, and you'll get the complete story. And the story is about Erin McCabe, who is a 30-something criminal defense lawyer. She also happens to be a transgender woman. And her law partner, Duane, who's also 30-something and is a Black man who is a former FBI agent. And they're contacted to represent a New Jersey state trooper, a white New Jersey state trooper, who is accused of murdering a Black journalist who was about to publish an expose on the New Jersey State Police and a rogue organization within the New Jersey State Police called the Lords of Discipline. And the initial struggle for Duane is, can he, as a Black man, represent a white law enforcement officer who's accused of killing another Black man? But as I said, Duane is a former FBI agent, and as he listens to their potential client, all of a sudden, what the client is saying rings true from Duane's experience when he was with the FBI. And Erin and Duane are off representing John Mazur in this case. And it's a story about their investigation and the trial. And it's a full-blown trial from start to finish.
Wow. Okay. Calling all legal thriller fans. We have Robyn in the house here to give us the inside scoop on this book and take all of your most pressing questions, which I can't wait to jump in. But first, I just want to welcome everyone because we are streaming live to 6 different destinations across Facebook and YouTube. So, hey, mystery and thriller loving friends, no matter where you are watching from, you're in the right place. It is the right time. It is Mystery Monday because Mondays can be murder. We're going to make it a little less painful and get your week off to a killer start. So if you've been here before, you know the drill. And if you're new, welcome, friends. This is the drill. Every Monday, I give you my handpicked featured authors, and you get to ask them anything. So ask Robyn about her writing process. Ask her about her legal research, because guess what? Robyn is a legal eagle herself. Ask her about this Erin McCabe character, where her inspiration came from. These are just all my questions. We'll get to yours next. And you know how it is in Mavens, it's like Vegas, but for mysteries and thrillers. So what happens on Mavens stays on Mavens. Get those questions going in the chat on, and we got to talk about that rave review in the New York Times. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. We have Laura joining us from Facebook. She says, this sounds so great. Doesn't it, Laura? It sounds so great. So Robyn, let's just start with, how did you come up with this idea?
The idea for this particular book as opposed to the idea for Erin. Okay. So
let's do both, because now I want to know this book, but I also want to know about the trajectory of the creation of Erin McCabe.
Sure. So for this book, I had just finished book 3. That was in the editing process and everything. And I had a contract for book 4. So I had to come up with an idea for book 4. And I was doing an event for book 3. And one of the people in the room asked me a question. They said, could Erin ever represent a client who had been accused of murdering a transgender person? And I was like, wow, that's an interesting question. And I said, the honest answer is I don't know. I'll have to think about it. And so I started mulling that over. And I was like, as an author, probably Erin could, because she's a lawyer. Lawyers represent people all the time who are accused of crimes. But me as an author, I don't think I could write that story. But then I turned it around a little bit and I said, but what's going on with the law enforcement community and in terms of its relationship with people of color and the Black community, I wonder what would happen. What would Duane's reaction be to representing a white law enforcement officer accused of murdering somebody who is Black? So that was the first thread. Then the second thread was, I have a real good friend who up until today when he started a new job, was a captain in the New Jersey State Police. And
Ooh.
I was having brunch with him, and we were talking about, I was telling him I was trying to come up with a story for this book. And he said to me, Google the Lords of Discipline. And I said, what? And he said, just Google the Lords of Discipline. So when I went home, I did. And there really was, or allegedly was, an organization, a rogue organization within the New Jersey State Police called the Lords of Discipline. And if folks out there Google them, you will find a New York Times article, you will find a Philadelphia Inquirer article, you will find a number of articles about the Lords of Discipline, including an investigation conducted by the New Jersey Attorney General's office to see if there truly was such an organization. Now, they came to the conclusion that there wasn't, but I'm not so sure that they came to the right conclusion. So those two threads came together, and that's where this particular book came from.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Okay. So, wow. So all from that question at the reader event, at the book event where the reader asked you. Now, what about that reader's question? Could Erin defend a client accused of killing a trans victim?
I think probably, the answer is yes, but I'm not sure I could write that book.
Right. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, Robyn, this is so crazy. Okay, now let's get to the second part of that question about the evolution of Erin McCabe from book one to current. Take us on this journey of creating this character.
Sure. So what had happened, I had written a manuscript which had gotten me an agent. And thank God that manuscript was never published. It was, went out on submission, but nobody ever acquired it, which is a good thing for my writing career.
Wait, when was this, Robyn? Take us back in time.
This would have been in 2015.
Okay.
So that goes out. And so, I'm sitting there, the book is out on submission. I can't do anything. So I'm reading a lot. And I reread To Kill a Mockingbird, which I hadn't read in a long time.
Ooh.
And I had forgotten how much of that story is the trial of Tom Robinson. And I was wondering to myself as I was reading it, I'd love to know what Tom was thinking, but because here he is, a Black man in the rural South in the 1930s, accused of sexually assaulting a white woman. He had to know that he had no chance. Yet the whole book is told through the point of view of Scout, the young narrator. So you're never in Tom's head. So I said, it would be interesting to get into somebody's head who's accused of the crime. So the first book, By Way of Sorrow, the person who's accused of the crime is Charisse Barnes. Charisse is a young 19-year-old trans woman who's also a sex worker, and she's accused of murdering the only son of the richest and most powerful politician in the state of New Jersey. But as I was thinking through the idea, I said, no, I can't tell that story from Charisse's point of view because that's not me. I don't have that lived experience. I am a transgender woman, but I am a very privileged white transgender woman. And so I said, I can have Charisse as the character. And every once in a while, because it's told from a third person point of view, I can jump into Charisse's head as long as I make sure that I get that character right. And I did use sensitivity readers to make sure I got Charisse right. But I need a character that I could tell a story from. And as I said, I'm a transgender woman. I have practiced a lot of criminal defense over the course of my 45 plus year career as a lawyer. And so write what you know. So that's where Erin McCabe came from. Erin is not me. Erin is 30 something. She's very attractive. I am double Erin's age, and I'm not going to comment on my looks, but
you're very attractive, Robyn.
Thank you. But I really, that was the character. And then Duane Swisher, her partner, her law partner, Swish as he's known through the books, came from the fact that I not only wanted to deal with issues involving the LGBTQ plus community, but I wanted to deal with the issues involving race and politics and power and economic justice and what all that means. So I wanted all of those things to be together. So, that's where Duane came from. And again, I am not a Black man, but I have lots of friends who are lawyers who are Black, and I've stole various pieces from people, and then again use sensitivity readers to make sure that I had gotten these characters right.
I am loving the backstory on Erin, on the creation of Erin McCabe and how it ties to Kill a Mockingbird. I had no idea. This is fabulous. Eric is joining us from Facebook. He says, I am about 1/3 in now and I am loving it. Ooh, Eric, well, we can't wait to hear what you think when you are 3/3 of the way in. Please keep us posted. And you can share all of your thoughts about and questions you have, here, of course, but then afterward in the Mystery and Thriller Facebook group, which is free and open to all. And you can we're streaming live in one of our 6 destinations. So that's where we nerd out about the books and chat about all things Swish and Erin and all the good tea, as the cool kids say. So do keep us posted. Let us know what you think. And we also have Thomas joining us saying, I love this series. I am looking forward to reading Nothing But the Truth. Congratulations, Robyn. Sounds like you have a long-term fan here in Thomas. Thomas, good to see you again. Thanks for tuning in.
Yeah, and Thomas is also a writer. So I know that. I follow Thomas. So congratulations to Thomas, too, because I know he's working on it. He's got a work in progress going. So.
Ooh, Thomas, definitely keep us posted on that and let us know. Let me know when your book is out, and happy to have you on the series as well. Marianne is joining us from Facebook. She says, have you had a Duane in your law practice?
I can't say that I've had a Duane in my practice, but I certainly have had Duanes who I have been on trial with, lawyers who, we represented co-defendants in cases, and in one particular case, I mean, there were a number of lawyers who could have been my partners, because the particular case that I'm referring to started in November of 1986 and it finished in August of 1988. It's the longest running federal criminal defense trial in the state of New York. And there were a couple of people in that case that were really role models in terms of Swish. And as I said, there's a couple others that I've other lawyers that I've worked with and become friends with throughout the course of my career that were also role models for Swish. But Swish, for those who haven't read the book, Swish, the background, his name is Duane Swisher, but he's also called Swish because he's a basketball player and has a great 3-point shot. So the Swish nickname serves 2 purposes. And the fellow who was in the trial that lasted almost 2 years, he also was a great basketball player. And so kind of stole that from him.
That was my 3-point shot. Clearly, I've never played basketball. I was like, yes, this is me shooting. Oh my gosh, I love it. Marianne, thank you so much for the great question. Eric wants to know, are there plans? I think we're all wondering, Eric, we're vibing. Are there plans to continue the Erin McCabe series? Yeah, so you're 4 books in. Are we talking, Patricia Cornwell case Scarpetta, 36 books? Are we talking 10? Are we talking 100? What's happening, Robyn? Tell us.
Well, I would love to tell you that there's going to be more Erin McCabe books, but right now I don't know. So my publisher, Kensington, hasn't asked for any more. So right now I'm working on another book that has nothing to do with Erin McCabe. I mean, look, all I can hope is that Nothing But the Truth takes off. Reese Witherspoon calls, Oprah calls, something happens, Netflix is there, and suddenly all of a sudden there's a demand for more Erin. But as I sit here now, I can't guarantee it. So.
Well, let's talk about the fact that as readers, we have a lot to say about that. I think we always think or at least I always used to think, oh, it's this mysterious process, whether there's going to be another book or not. But actually, it's all about demand. So readers, this is our chance to demand more #more Erin. Let's get that going. And the way that we do that is by supporting the book. So here is the link to buy the book from our favorite woman-owned independent bookstore. That is, of course, Murder by the Book. So whether you're watching with us on Facebook or YouTube, here is that link to click and order Nothing But the Truth. And that tells Robyn's publisher, Kensington, we want more Erin. We want more Erin. We have another Robyn in the audience. IN. Hi, Robyn. Good to see you. Thanks so much for tuning in. And we have Renee joining us from Facebook. Hi, Renee. She says, how about HBO or Showtime, Robyn? She doesn't have Netflix. Yeah, don't forget that.
I'm not going to be picky. If whoever wants it, we can sit down and talk.
Yay. We have Sharon joining us from YouTube. She says, howdy from Massachusetts. Howdy to you, Miss Sharon. She says, you are a new author to me, and I look forward to reading the series. Oh my gosh, I love that. When I started Mystery and Thriller Mavens, I said my goal is to connect readers to their favorite authors and introduce them to their next favorite author. So here she is, Robyn Gigl. Sharon, thank you so much for saying that.
And I should tell all the folks out there that, I mentioned that Erin is a transgender woman, but I mean, while that's part of the Erin's story and it's woven into the fabric of the stories, I write for everyone. I write for the fans of Scott Turow, John Grisham, Lisa Scottolini. I want anyone who likes a good mystery, a good legal thriller. I want them to love this book. So, I want to reassure everybody, you don't have to be a member of the LGBTQ plus community to enjoy Erin McCabe. It's for everyone.
She sure is for everyone. Thank you so much for that clarity. And I totally agree. Erin is for everyone. Everyone can relate to her in some way. So thank you for sharing that. We have a question here. I'm going to get right down to it. Oh my goodness. Robyn says, I met you at Left Coast Crime and I'm so happy to see you here. Yay.
Thank you. And by the way, Left Coast Crime was wonderful. It was the first time I went. I had a wonderful time. The folks at Left Coast Crime were great.
Yay. Renee is saying she wants to know, where are you located? She says she is in Southeast Florida.
I am in New Jersey. And, for some reason, Erin and Duane live in New Jersey and the books are set in New Jersey. But, it has something to do with the fact that I live here, but it also has something to do with the fact that we have so many corrupt politicians. It's so easy to pick people in New Jersey. We're famous for a lot of things: the Jersey Shore, Asbury Park, Bruce Springsteen, and corrupt politicians. That's New Jersey.
Oh my God, I love it. Thank you so much. Let's. Renee says, "What part of Jersey? We need to get specific. Are we talking Jersey Shore here? What's going on?"
We are talking the Jersey Shore. So, I mentioned the boss. Greetings from Asbury Park, his first album. I could almost give you Greetings from Asbury Park. That's how close I am. So.
Oh my God, I love it. So let's talk about some of the amazing praise that this book has earned, because you just mentioned Lisa Scottolini and I would actually talk first about Lisa Gardner's review, and then I would do the New York Times. So Lisa Gardner, who's the #1 New York Times bestselling author, who was just on for her book, had this to say. I'm going to pop it up so we can all read it together. She says, "Taut and powerful, Gigl's latest legal thriller combines the very best of courtroom drama, unexpected twists, and thought-provoking characters. Ellen McCabe is my new favorite series character. Crazy, clever, quietly powerful, and always compelling. Do not miss this series." That is from #1 New York Times bestselling author Lisa Gardner. And now I want to talk about that New York Times review, because Robyn, you were just in the New York Times. Tell us, how did you hear? Were you paging through and then you saw it, or tell us about reading that review?
It's funny because one of the women from my publisher had reached out about a month ago and said, "Hey, heard a rumor that the New York Times might be doing a review of Nothing But the Truth," but nothing further. And then I happen to have a Google feed where I have my name, so that if any articles pop up with my name, I get a notice. And this morning at 11 o'clock, I get a notice that in the online edition of the New York Times Book Review is an article, the crime review section, by Sara Weinman, and in there was the review. So my publisher didn't know, my agent didn't know. I was the first one to see it, and talk about just being in shock and being overwhelmed by what they said about my book. I mean, it's just wonderful.
Oh my
If I'm glowing, that's the reason why, because it's not even 24 hours old.
Oh my God. I love that you were the one who broke the story, and I got to share the news. I mean, what a wonderful, wonderful thing. So let's take a peek at what Sara Weinman from the New York Times said in her review. She says, I'm just pulling the last line here. The resulting courtroom fireworks are thrilling, but it is Erin's deepening relationship with her friends, family, and now husband Mark that make her one of the best series characters around. I mean, it just doesn't get any better than that. And it sounds like the New York Times wants to see more. See #more Erin.
Well, again, I hope everybody out there that wants to see more Erin reaches out to Kensington and buys the book, and reaches out to the bookstore and buys the book. And who knows? I would love to do more Erin. I mean, I love hanging out with Erin and Swish. And there's another character in the book, Erin's mom, Peg McCabe, who I have said from the acknowledgments in book 1 that Peg McCabe is an homage to my mom. And so as long as I can write Peg McCabe, I feel like my mom is still with me.
Oh my gosh. I love that. I love that. Thank you for sharing. And we have someone asking if the store is Black owned. So the bookstore is not Black owned. It is woman owned, and it's one of the dedicated mystery and one of the very few dedicated mystery and thriller bookstores in the country. But I do support a lot of Black owned bookstores in Atlanta, in New York, and in Boston. So thank you so much for asking. Renee is saying congratulations on this on this New York Times review. She wants to know, is your name in yes, her name is right there in the New York Times. It's so exciting. Sharon is saying Lisa Gardner rocks, and what an amazing review from her. Right, Sharon? Isn't it just so great?
Yeah, and talk about just wonderful experiences. Getting that review from Lisa was just absolutely amazing.
Yay. And Robyn says she is listening on her drive home from getting Roxy's nails clipped. Yay. I love that. Okay, perfect. And then I want to get into some of one of the questions that I had was that you had mentioned that your very first book didn't get you said it never did get published.
Correct.
Now we're talking rave reviews from the New York Times. So, Robyn, what have you learned from that first book to now 4 books in, 3 of which have been, rave reviews from the New York Times? What have you learned about, how has your craft evolved? How has the way that you think about writing evolved? How has your practice evolved?
Obviously, I'd like to think I've gotten much better. When I wrote the first manuscript that never sold, this was really my first, well, I shouldn't say that. I mean, back in the 1970s, late 70s, early 80s, I did start handwriting a book right after I got out of law school. But that one sits in a briefcase. I got about 200 pages in. It's my briefcase novel.
Oh my God, your briefcase novel.
The manuscript that I finished and didn't sell, it was really my first attempt at writing a novel. And so while I think the story that I had, and I still might revisit that sometime, the idea for the story, I think it was a really good idea, and I would at some point maybe go back to it. But my execution wasn't what it should have been, and it didn't fit neatly into any genres. It was kind of a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and what I've learned, I like to hope, I hope I've learned, is to fine tune it, to make it, so that it's a page turner. I think the first one was a little, long-winded, dragged on. And I learned with By Way of Sorrow, and then have hopefully refined over time, to make that thriller, to make it so that when you get to the end of the chapter and you go, I'm going to stop here. You read the last line and you go, oh no, I got to see what happens next. And I think that that's part of the craft that I've refined over time, to make it that page turner, to keep people really interested in it and wanting to read more.
I love that. Eric would like to know, can you tell us? Oh, Eric, I love this question. We're totally vibing. Can you tell us anything about the book that you're writing now?
So the book I'm writing now is more of a police procedural. It's not about a lawyer. It's about a detective in a prosecutor's office. It is a kind of, they're trying to get rid of her and put out to pasture. And she starts working on a cold case. And at the same time, she's trying to find out what happened when her mom left her when she was 5 years old, never to come home. And so it's those two stories and how they ultimately weave together.
Fabulous. Thank you. Renee saying, yay. Sharon wants to know, what is a briefcase novel? Yeah. Tell us more about the briefcase novel.
Okay. So keep in mind, I started this probably in 1978 or 79. So there were no computers. There were, I sat there with a legal pad and wrote longhand, and at some point then had it typed up on a typewriter. And so, as I said, I got about 200 pages into it. I was a very young lawyer, had a bustling legal career at that point in time. I was an associate, expected to work long hours. And then my wife and I had 3 children. So there was a family, and, there was no time to write. So what happens is all those yellow legal pads got put in a briefcase, and they sit there. So that's my briefcase novel. Those yellow legal pads are the novel that sits in a briefcase.
Well, Renee thinks that one sounds great too, and I could not agree more. Jane is joining us from Facebook as well. She says, this sounds very exciting. Right, Jane? Doesn't it sound, it's so great. So I am loving that. I want to also chat about some of this other incredible praise. Let's talk about this one from Hank Philip Ryan, who's been on the show 4 times. And she had this to say. I'm going to pop it up so we can all read it together. She says, powerfully written and completely immersive, this revealing and heartbreaking legal thriller had me absolutely hooked, compelling, twisty, and throughout utterly life-changing. Robyn's insight and compassion are unmatched. And Hank is also married to a criminal defense attorney, so she knows a thing or two about criminal defense. I love that. Okay. We have 2 more great questions I definitely want to get to. Mary Ann wants to know, how do you come up with the intriguing titles of your books? Does the title develop along with the story, or do you begin with a kernel of an idea for the titles? Great question, Mary Ann.
So in terms of By Way of Sorrow is actually the title of a song. And it was a song that has a lot of personal resonance for me, because it's about getting to a place of joy through sorrow. And as I mentioned, I'm a trans woman. And so going through that process of transitioning, there's a lot of pain, a lot of things that happen. And then for me, I was able to get to the place of joy. So I got to where I am through sorrow. So By Way of Sorrow, that song meant a lot to me. And so that was the working title of By Way of Sorrow right from the get-go. Survivor's Guilt, which is the second book, again, that title was there right from the start, because the story involves, it's a little twist on both someone who has survived being abused and has pled guilty to a crime that they may or may not have committed. And so that case involves Erin and Duane trying to figure out why their client has pled guilty when they don't think she is guilty. So it's a little twist on survivor's guilt. And then there's another character in the book who we never know if they're a good person or a bad person, but they too are a survivor and they really are guilty. So again, a twist on that expression. Remain Silent, which is the third book, that title has a lot of different meanings within the context of the book. It is the lawyer's, advice to a client: remain silent, don't say anything.
Right.
Erin winds up being subpoenaed to a grand jury because she knows where a client is hiding with her child, and the law enforcement people are looking for her to take the child away from her. And so Erin is subpoenaed to a grand jury and chooses to remain silent and is faced with being sent to jail for contempt. And then it also deals with the fact that there are a number of characters who have been in the closet and they have remained silent about who they really are. And so it had a number of different meanings. And Nothing But the Truth, to answer your question, Marianne, Nothing But the Truth is the title that I've struggled with the most. It wasn't the original title. There's a legal expression, and you usually see it in Latin in a courtroom, but I'll translate it because I can't say it in Latin. It's "Let justice be done, though the heavens may fall." And so the original title of the book was "Though the Heavens May Fall." That was my working title throughout. And then when it went to my editor, he was like, "Yeah, I don't think this is going to work. We need to come up with another title." And so again, I wanted something legal. And here we had, a story about someone who's accused of this crime, and yet maybe they're willing to lie to protect somebody else. So they're not really giving nothing but the truth. And so that's where it came from.
But when, and I obviously I'm not a lawyer, but isn't it when you're sworn in, you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So
that's the phrase. That's where it comes from.
Listen, Robyn, I watch my share of Law and Order. Okay.
There you go.
Thomas is saying, please, everyone, buy Robyn's new book so Kensington will publish more Erin McCabe thrillers. Absolutely. And Thomas, I will give you that $5. I'll Venmo you that $5 later. I'm just kidding, of course. But here, once again, is the link to buy that, to buy Nothing But the Truth, because I think we're all pretty intrigued after that. So here is that link. Thomas, thanks for queuing that up for me. Robyn says, thank you for sharing a bit about transitioning. Yes, thank you for sharing that, Robyn. And Renee saying, thank you for sharing your personal experiences with us, along with the information on your novels. Yes, thank you. Thank you for saying that. Eric saying, all wonderful books. I just recently found them and they kept my attention so well. I loved the way that you educated the reader about the LGBTQ community without it being overdone. Thank you, Eric. Renee wants to know, what kind of law did you or do you practice? I want to know too.
Well, I'm still practicing, although trying to wind down a little bit. Not so much because I'm, of the author role, but because at that age where it's time to slow down a little bit. But over the course of my career, I've done nothing but litigation, primarily civil litigation involving employment law, civil rights law, those kinds of things. But as I said earlier, I've also done a lot of criminal defense, including being part of the defense team that was in the longest running criminal trial in New Jersey federal courts, in which everybody was found not guilty. So I've done all of that. In 2015, I changed firms, or the firm that I had been a partner with for almost 30 years. We wound that down and dissolved it. And I came to a new firm, Gluck-Walrath, which a year ago merged with another firm, Dilworth Paxton. When I joined Gluck-Walrath in 2015, because we represent a lot of public entities, I had to stop doing criminal defense work because I actually wound up representing one of the county prosecutors' offices in terms of their civil litigation. So, it would be conflict to keep doing criminal defense when you're representing the prosecutor's office. So I haven't done criminal defense since 2015, but it's still part of my DNA. It's still there. My first job out of law school was as a law clerk for a criminal judge. So have always loved doing criminal defense work.
Wow, fascinating. Well, we are over time, but time flies when you're having this much fun, and I am having so much fun. So, Robyn, thank you so much for coming on and giving us the inside scoop on nothing but the truth. Thank you all for being with us here tonight. Renee saying thank you, Robyn, for being with Sara and us this evening. Yes, Renee beautifully said. Y'all, thank you for being with us. For Mystery Monday, I'll be back at the top of the hour with writing team Kendra Elliott and Melinda Lee. So get a snack, get a drink, and get your butts back in those seats. I will see you at the top of the hour. Robyn, hang on with me, and y'all, I'll see you at the top of the hour. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Sara.